Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 181. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Friggin' goddamn stupid thing keeps demonetizing my videos. I start the show that way.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
What up?
Brian Manjoma.
What's up?
Brett Murdoch.
We don't have to impersonate Brian this week.
And Adam Vale.
Happy birthday, strangers.
Yeah, how y'all doing, man? So, Manny, what happened now?
Oh well, I was doing another stream again, and it caught me in another batch of stuff. So it demonetized the video.
Muted him. We can't actually be demonetized on Twitch yet.
Okay, so for Twitch, they literally turned off the volume off of certain songs.
Yeah, what's going on? The truth. Manny wants to be the rebel of the show and keep pushing it.
Somehow I keep pushing it, man. I don't know why. Like, here's the thing. Like, I'm playing like 90% game music on this thing. It's so stupid.
Yeah, but that's the way it is. All right, a couple of things before we start. I don't know if he's here yet, but All Day Digital did something that we've never seen before on, for the questions. He actually didn't ask us questions. He asked us trivia and riddles. That's not the name of the show, brother. You're just getting that out there.
It's throw down your riddles. Ooh.
Yeah, it's like I'm saying this right now, so hopefully he'll be in here to ask us some actual questions, because we can't really discuss a fucking riddle or trivia. This isn't that type of show, bro. And also, just for the record, I fucking hate riddles. Can't stand them. So, but this is
I love riddles.
Yeah, I cannot fucking stand them. Just like poetry, I can't stand that shit. So remember, throw down your questions, not throw down your riddles. So just keep that in mind, people. I just want to get that out there because I don't want other people to start doing the same thing. This is not that type of show, and I can't stand that shit anyway. All right. So let's get on to the first question. Actually, this is from Him Deal and Fergus Mills. They want to know about those Sony financials. So Chris, I hope you're ready, man.
Yeah, I have the report up here, so let me share my screen.
Yeah, the only difference is just unlike, because usually I just give you free reign, but just try to keep it a little bit shorter than usual because we have other questions, obviously. But other than that, go ahead, Ben.
I will. So Sony's numbers were a day after Microsoft and Nintendo, so I didn't have anything ready for Thursday's show. So I have it ready. I had looked at them this weekend. And so I'll show you how they're doing, and they're doing pretty good. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of surprised at this. Let me go back up to their overall sales. But on every aspect besides mobile, besides Sony Ericsson, which is the only part of them that seems to be losing money, everything else was up. Like especially
TVs too?
PlayStation. Yes, home and entertainment, imaging, semiconductors, even Sony Pictures, which I usually think is like trash, is making money. So they're doing fairly well. So here's the chart for sales and operating. Let me their report is long too. Sony's another company that has many arms, and I'm only trying to focus on PlayStation, and PlayStation by far is the biggest moneymaker in Sony global as a company. Like the only thing close to it is either pictures or the home entertainment, which is TV and audio and all that stuff. Everything else is like a fraction of that. So unlike Microsoft, where if you ask what's the biggest, and I showed you on Thursday, what's the biggest piece of Microsoft? It's like Office and Windows, right? Xbox is a tiny piece of Microsoft. It's the opposite with Sony. PlayStation and PSN sales are the biggest money makers and the biggest revenue generators in Sony right now. So I'll show you real quick. They're at 79 million units in the wild as of this report.
God damn.
And I, according to the Daniel Ahmed guy, the Zook on Twitter, he said it's on track with the Wii at its point in its life.
What?
Yeah. So the
Wow.
PS4 is selling and on the same trend as the Wii was at the same time. So that's pretty good. And I'm glad he had those stats ready because I had no idea. I was like, oh man, and he had the graph. So I checked out his data. You could check. He put all that stuff on Twitter, so you could check that out too.
Does anyone remember what Wii lifetime sales were?
I think it was stopped at 105. Maybe. Let me confirm that. Or somebody confirm it. I
I'll do
have
it.
to show the numbers.
I'll do it.
Yeah. So usually I rag on Sony Pictures, but somehow they made money. I'm not sure how.
What the hell did they come out with? Like, how are they making money?
I don't know.
What's
Like,
it, Spider-Man, maybe?
I guess Spider-Man Homecoming. That's usually what they attributed.
It was probably Spider-Man Homecoming and also the Rock's movie did pretty well.
What, Rampage?
Rampage?
Not
No,
Rampage.
not that one. The other one.
Jumanji?
Jumanji did
Oh,
crazy good.
yeah, that's right.
Is that a Sony one?
Was that a Sony?
That was a Sony one.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I didn't read that part of the report. Like, honestly, I don't care. But usually I'm like, get rid of that shit. But like overall, I'm shocked. Like, what was losing money or what generated like negative or loss was mobile, right? Like, honestly, Sony Ericsson, I don't know anyone who buys it, and it shows in the report. Like, they overall had somehow they had an increase in customer base, but they had a loss on hardware because their hardware isn't moving. So I'm not sure how that works, and I'm not going to focus on it. Anyway, PlayStation is generating huge revenue. It's almost at 2 billion yen total, and that's way over. Like, here's Sony Pictures, here's the TV and audio stuff. This is the cameras, imaging products and solutions. That's all what Sony bought, and from Konica Minolta is now Sony Imaging. And mobile is Sony Ericsson. Semiconductors is all the stuff they make for private industry. And I don't know about Sony Financial Services. I'm not sure. Maybe is that a Japanese thing? I don't know what business segment that is. But anyway, their overall sales has like increased dramatically over the last year. Like, you can see their net sales here is like 6.4 billion for 2017. It's up to 7.2 billion this year. That's a change of almost 800 million yen. Sorry, and that's a huge jump up. And they attributed the PlayStation segment. Sorry, I'm scrolling through all this. PlayStation segment. I read this already. It was due to an increased amount of PSN subscriptions and game purchases. So the big jump up in PlayStation sales was attributed to PSN, like a vast majority of it.
Damn.
So that the hardware part segment didn't move the needle too much, but the PSN stuff was a huge revenue generator for Sony, and there's their sales for that jumped up, and their revenue for PlayStation jumped up dramatically. Now, overall, I'm shocked that also they had a jump in TV sales, which I thought they were ready to shut that down.
Yeah, me too.
And they had a jump this year in television. They had a jump in the Sony Pictures generated out of profit. The music, Sony Music generated profit. So they attribute that to streaming, again, to online services.
By the way, the TV side, people are buying 4K now.
It's my TV.
I'm on my TV, and I just bought one like 2 weeks ago. So
But did you buy a Sony TV?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sony Bravia. I'm helping these people out, man.
Pony.
These people need to feed their children, man.
Yeah, because they're broke, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of insane. Like, I honestly didn't expect this. Like, for PlayStation, I did. For everything else, like, I thought it would be a mixed bag. I honestly thought I didn't see Sony Pictures turning a profit, considering the year before that, when they did their end of year 2017, they had a huge loss thanks to primarily to Ghostbusters being a huge bomb.
You know.
And their music stuff was stagnant. Imaging was stagnant. Mobile was losing money, and they still seem to be at it. And this year, they've turned a lot of that around. And I'm not sure what changes they made in in that stuff, especially I don't keep up with like what they're doing with their cameras, what they're
Well,
doing with music.
before
I don't.
I just want to ask real quick. So I just want to make sure that I heard you right. So the failure of straying from the roots of the franchise of Ghostbusters was noted in their profits, but when they doubled down and actually paid homage to the fans with a movie like Spider-Man, their profits actually reflect this.
Yeah.
So it's not just a lot of bitching and moaning from customer base either. This is something that Sony is actually feeling in their wallet.
Yeah, it was substantive. Like they had a huge operating loss in the Sony Pictures segment, and that was primarily due to Ghostbusters. Especially Ghostbusters couldn't play in the Chinese market due to the fact that it's Ghost. And in China, I don't know if you know this, they do not present anything with paranormal stuff in the theaters. They don't. They're weird government rules. They can't show that
What?
stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So Ghostbusters didn't play in Chinese theaters. So they lost out on a huge amount of revenue from that, and that probably they didn't see that
Well,
coming.
but how did they get away with like The Grudge and the Ring? I mean,
But that's
those are
Those
Japan.
are
decent.
Japanese
Oh,
films.
Japanese.
They
Yeah.
probably don't show them in Japan, in China.
In China.
China,
Yeah, they
yeah.
don't show.
Yeah.
They can't show that stuff in theaters. It's a
Yo,
weird
man, should have
rule
changed
that
the
they
name of the
have.
movie, man.
But it still would have ghosts. Like you could call
Yeah.
it like I don't know,
Dimension
Monster Busters,
Busters. I
but
don't
it's
know.
still it's still
Monster Busters.
it's still ghosts at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like you can't change it too much. But they don't show that stuff in their theaters, and that was a huge miscalculation on the part of Sony Pictures because they always count on that Chinese market, right?
Mhm.
That's basically most movies do, and that was a huge miscalculation. Didn't play in China, did horribly here. The movie lost a ton of money, so that was bad. But Spider-Man: Homecoming the next year did very well,
No ghost
and
in that.
the no ghost to just Spider-Man, and the Blu-ray sales did tremendously well, so that they picked up on that, and I think they're gonna bank on Venom and some other stuff. Their projections for next year are very humble. They're predicting sort of a loss in some areas. They kept their Sony Pictures profit segment. I think they predict a small loss, and I'm not sure why, considering they're writing off of Spider-Man. Spider-Man's in Avengers, and they have Venom coming out. So I thought they would put that it would increase, but they actually put a loss for their predictions for 2019. And the only thing that they had at just a slight profit is PlayStation. Everything else is either stable or at a loss. So that was interesting.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. I want to move on to the next question, which is still related to this. From our boy Hussein Unsal, he goes, "Why does Sony have such a conservative forecast for PlayStation 4 next fiscal year when it has the strongest party lineup in 2018?" So, Chris, go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, I think they're keeping stuff their predictions humble because I mean there must be something that we don't know that they see on the horizon. Like I didn't watch the
PlayStation
presentation.
5.
No, I mean
this has just been my fan. This has been my weird fan theory, and Tony and I have been arguing
Yeah.
about this. And I'm telling you, the numbers are supporting me, Tony.
We'll see about that, man. Anyway, Chris, go on, and then Brett could come in with his theory.
yeah, the predicators they set for the forecast for 2019 usually depends on where they see the business segments going, right? So what they see now is like mobile, they're faltering completely. Their TV segment is like it was shaky, it was down last year, now it's up this year, and they put it at a very conservative level. But they seemed overall to put everything at a conservative level, even pictures at a loss next year. So I don't know if they're just playing it safe. They're hedging their bets, like keep their shareholders' expectations low and say like, we don't want to just shoot ourselves in the foot. And they also don't want to make one segment just marginalize it because they rely on every segment. Like they can't say, well, Sony Music is just crap, but PlayStation is fantastic, which is like just the reality of it. So they're going to keep everything on a baseline. So I think that's why. I think everything else determine their predictions for the PlayStation segment as well.
I remember even on the PlayStation when they had the Sony Music, remember, and it was their home music service, and then they removed it and then they replaced it with Spotify. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Just use Spotify. Here you go, and that's it.
Yeah,
I wonder
and
if PlayStation View is doing good.
it's even, I don't know. I'd have to skim through this more, but I don't know how View itself is doing. They said overall the network, PSN network subscriptions and sales through PSN were way up, right? So I don't know if that includes View though. They don't mention it specifically in here.
Yeah.
By the way, I got a prediction.
Uh-oh.
PS4 will outsell the Wii lifetime.
Bold
Wii's
prediction.
The Wii's at 101. By the way, this is VG charts. I know we keep, but
you know people love VG charts, bro.
Oh, yeah. So Manny was right. Like, here you go. Motion picture sales increased due to strong worldwide performance of Spider-Man: Homecoming and Jumanji.
There you go.
All things Jumanji.
Jumanji was great. I watched it. I watch it at least every weekend. My kids love it.
And apparently abroad, the 10 Sports Network, which I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is
PN
either.
is like Toronto.
Tennessee.
Wait, yeah. So with their 2019 fiscal year predict, I can only say, like, if you look at it just from PlayStation, sure, like they're dominating right now, right? So it was like, why wouldn't?
Oh shit! This man got cut off mid-sentence.
Damn,
That was the cliffiest of cliffhangers.
Damn.
You are running Windows, so that means that
that was some Infinity War shit right there, man.
What happened?
You got cut off mid-sentence, bro.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What I was saying is that you can't just look at it from PlayStation. They're a global company. They have all these segments, so their predictions have to be based on all these segments. And like, so to have a huge boon for PlayStation and then predicting a loss across the board would look bad, especially to shareholders who don't care about the gaming segment. Maybe they care about TVs or Sony Pictures or Sony Music, and they're invested, and they might back out. So if you just kind of average out each prediction and just say, okay, we're going to be conservative across the board and say we'll stay baseline here, and we might lose a little here and gain a little here, but it'll be about the same as this year, right? Then you can only go up from there, right? And if you lose a little in home entertainment, or that's to be expected. But for PlayStation, it's every indication as far as we see from the consumer side looks good. So that can only help them. They can change their predictions later once you get to the half year mark. So around like September, they could go, oh, it's looking good, and we're going to change the predictions, and that'll get investors happy going into the next fiscal year. So they could always change those.
That's what's happened before.
Yeah, we've seen that many times too, where they change their predictions halfway through or whatever.
Yeah.
But Brett, you believe it's because the PlayStation 5 is coming?
I think I think it's because the PlayStation 5 is eventually coming.
Well,
Yeah,
that's pretty obvious.
Well, yeah, I know, but for those of you guys, Tony and I have been talking, and I'm in the mindset that the arrival of the PlayStation 5 is going to be somewhat imminent because Microsoft knows that they've lost this generation, and Sony knows Microsoft knows that they've lost this generation, and we're in this weird Mexican standoff of, okay, who's going to pull the trigger first? And just from little things, like I already, when I hear about Tony telling me that, Sony has plans for what they want their setup to be, but that technology is not really going to be readily available until next year. And the devs know this. What I hear is they've already got spec sheets out to devs, and they are already looking at the manufacturing process and what they'll be able to get out and when. So I think we're a lot closer to the PlayStation 5 than we think that they are. And so I personally think that we're going to see 2019 as opposed to 2020, where Tony sits at. That's been the big discussion we're having. So personally, I think that they might announce, not even show a whole lot, but announce that it's in the works, because Sony wants to get in front of Microsoft on this one. They don't want to let Microsoft do the one thing that Microsoft has really been able to do to take Sony down, was get out in front of them by a wide margin. Sony's not going to let them do that with the next generation. So I think that we're going to see the release or the announcement of the next generation within the next year.
Well, I can't argue with that, because even though the sales are trending well on PS4, they're predicting that hardware sales will actually slow down, and their operating income and software sales will go up. but they're actually predicting, according to this, the sales will be flat year-on-year, mainly due to expected decrease in PS4 hardware sales and an impact of exchange rates, and then offset by an increase in PS4 software sales, including sales through the network. Operating increase due to the increase in software sales, so they're going to market against those, so their marketing budget goes up. But why would they say that there would be a decrease in hardware sales when it's trending very well? I mean,
See?
even at the when the trough was happening, when the Wii was coming down, it was still selling phenomenally well at this point. So why would they say that? Well, one of two things: either they see something down the road that is troubling them, and they're trying to like head it off, or Brett is right, and they're going to announce PS5, which will automatically cause that to happen because people will go, "Oh, put the brakes on, PS5's happened, so I'm going to wait," and they won't invest in PS4.
I
I'm
don't
telling
know.
you
I
guys,
think
I hear it on the wind. I mean, you look at the traction of when did the PlayStation Slim come out? Look at the slew of games right now. I was even telling Tony the kind of games that we're getting right now is the last big hurrah that a generation gets when we're all of a sudden swimming in AAA titles of incredible quality and made by really talented people, and they've had a long dev time. Like, this is that last golden rush of games. After this, most of the devs or um, most of the devs' effort is going to be focused towards PlayStation 5 launch games. And you see the same kind of pattern repeating itself over and over. I've been through enough console generations to start noticing a pattern. And I'm telling you, if you listen to the, put your ear to the ground, you can hear the buffalo of PlayStation 5 coming.
Well, we talked about a report, I mean, earlier this month where, what's his name? The fucking architect, Mark Cerny. Was going over the sort of talking to devs about what they should want or what they want in a new console. So, I mean, they're obviously not going to announce it this year. I don't know if that's part of your prediction, but next year, if they have a dev kit available, that's when they'll get it to the developers, and then they'll have to give them time. So, I mean, for me, 2020 is the ideal time for them to release this console, especially with the Olympics going on in Tokyo, and they got all that advertisement there.
Tony,
I don't know. I don't know. Here's the thing. Even if they're getting the stuff now, 2020 to have anything ready for even a console release,
they already have the
doesn't
stuff.
make any sense.
That's the thing. They don't have to have dev kits. They just have to have spec sheets because
No.
everything.
I'm saying, even if they have spec sheets, that gives them only 3 years to get things ready. I don't know about that.
Yeah, that stuff is already in development. They're developing everything off Windows 10 architecture, and developing isn't that hard since everything became unified under the same architecture. You can develop something essentially from Windows platform.
Takes time to do these things, no matter how easy it does.
But
I don't think 3 years. It's essentially 2 years of development.
So you're saying that we're not going to see a PlayStation then until?
I'm going to say we're going to see an announcement maybe in 2020. I don't see any release. I don't see an actual release happening until later.
Go ahead.
I think they'll announce it and release it in the same year.
Yeah, they're going to announce it and release it in the same year. Whatever year that is, it's going to be the same year. And I'm making my prediction. February of whatever year comes out, that's when you're going to make the announcement, a special show announcement, and then that November, February, they're going to make the announcement. E3, you're gonna get the big reveal and the price, and then that November you're gonna get the release. I'm gonna go with 2020. I'm gonna go with 2020 on this because even today, even though it's just a rumor right now, they're saying that they're already ramping up production. So make of that what you will, but I'm gonna go with 2020, 2019, as I originally predicted. Way too fucking early. Go ahead, Brett. What's your question?
I totally spaced. There's a million dogs barking around me.
These things happen. All right. I don't want to keep this going too much speculation here. So actually, speaking about next speculation is an excellent speculation question too. All right. What are your predictions for lifetime sales of the PlayStation 4, Switch, and Xbox One? What percentage of those predictions are made up of PS4 Pro, Xbox One, and inevitably the release of the new Switch? Man, my man wants us to break everything down, son.
Well, you know there's going to be a release of the new Switch now.
Oh, of course,
as of,
without a
as of the
doubt.
news this week.
Since I don't,
But that's
since,
just
yeah,
behind the scenes. It doesn't mean we'll notice anything. You know,
Yeah.
Microsoft did that with the Jasper chip. We didn't notice.
yeah, I'm gonna just feel this to you guys. I really don't like these type of questions. So you go ahead. You know,
They'll just be done behind the scenes. They'll just replace the board. Like, there goes that.
yeah, Chris, I'm gonna go to you first, man. Numbers. What do you predict?
All right. Let's see. We're at about 80 million PS4s. If Brett's right, we might hit about 90 million or 92 before it fades out. Because if they
Sony
derail
predicts
themselves,
95 million next year. What do you make of that?
Sony predicts 95.
Sony predicts 95 million, and Hussein
All right.
said that's a conservative to him.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is a
okay.
conservative number because if they announce PS5 either at E3 or some fall event, then they're kind of realizing they're hurting their own momentum, right? But they have to if they want to get ahead of Microsoft, then they have to. So it's kind of like cutting off your nose to spite your face. They put themselves in this weird area. Either they write out the sales and let Microsoft take the first leap into the next iterative generation, or they do it. So maybe they're going to do it. The report seems to belie that because I don't know why they would predict a big slowdown on hardware sales when they seem to have such good momentum and they have great software sales. So that's weird to me. So 95 is a good as I predicted like 92. So 95, they probably will get there by next year. But Lifetime is
Yeah,
if we're
Lifetime.
talking
That's a different
Lifetime,
story. Yeah.
I think they will hit 105 Lifetime. I think they'll
God
get it on the
damn.
Wii.
That's
Yeah.
that's the exact number I was gonna say. Good
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
I hit
and
that.
since you guys are smarter than me in this area, I'm gonna go with 105 too, just because I don't fucking know.
Xbox, I have no idea. I have no freaking idea.
I have
Like
a prediction
honestly,
on that. I do
I
have a
hate you
prediction
guys
on
for
that.
saying that while I was on mute.
Yeah, I do have a prediction on Xbox. They're gonna
okay.
at most, they're gonna sell. I'm gonna get heat for this.
50?
50, Carlos, man, got to bring
Oh,
it
no.
down, son.
Oh no, that's that's I was guessing that's what you were gonna say.
Nah, son, I'm guessing between 40 and 45 million.
Damn.
Xbox ain't selling shit.
Yeah,
You know?
I would have said 45. Yeah.
Yeah, 45
So
tops. No
40,
way they're
40,
going above that.
40 is like they're like 3 million away from 40.
They could be 10 million away. We don't know exactly.
you know, yeah.
I'm gonna go between 40 and 45 million for Xbox. For Switch, who the fuck knows? I legit have no idea. You know, Chris, what do you think about Switch? That one, I don't know. Do you know?
I'm just gonna put up question marks because I was totally wrong about how it's doing. It's at 15 million, and I said, what did I say last year? 7.
Yeah,
by this
7.
time, right? So they're more than double where I predicted. So, I mean, I'm not even gonna make a guess Lifetime. You know, I'm not even gonna predict next year. I'm
They're
just
predicting
gonna.
35 million by next year.
Yeah,
Well, that is
outselling the
that is
Xbox.
generous. Yeah, well, they're giving them a generous boost.
Because
Unless they have great software, I don't know how.
yeah,
But
because then they'll outpace last year, and
Yeah.
last year is the launch year.
Yeah.
On the hype was.
Yeah,
With
I
the
don't know where
strongest
they're
title.
pulling these numbers from, but that's what they're expecting.
I mean, unless they got another Zelda for the holiday, I don't know.
Dr. Mario, man. Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario.
Yeah, Dr. Mario's
I mean,
gonna save them,
Kirby
son.
and Yoshi and whatever is not gonna sell what like
Yeah, no
Zelda
fucking
sold.
way.
No way.
Maybe a Pokemon boost?
Or Donkey Kong.
Smash Brothers is coming out this year, so that'll help.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
But just on that alone, like to go 20 million units because of Smash Brothers?
No, they
No.
announce Pokemon and they'll start moving units immediately, even if they announce it a year and a half out.
Yeah, no, Chris. Smash Brothers is one component of it, but you need one more bigger game too, which would be a Pokemon.
I
So
guess.
Then they got Metroid, right? Isn't Metroid
It
coming?
better be the Pokemon MMO, man. It better
Yeah,
be like the
right.
world of Pokemon to do that. But
Like
yeah,
Pokemon Go with actual Pokemon battles.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
You know.
So that's it. That's it. I'm gonna agree with Tony on Xbox. With Switch, I'm just gonna put up question marks.
Yeah, me
Sure,
too. Question
35,
marks.
Whatever.
Yeah. Who the fuck knows?
Fuck those.
Yeah. All right. Who else wants to jump in? Predictions, numbers.
I do not predict things.
Yeah.
I'm with Chris with the 105. With on PlayStation, Xbox. I think it. I don't know, mid 40s. I don't think it's got that much legs left in it, to be honest. Before they move on. The Switch, it's still pretty freaking early in the life cycle. It's a year. So I don't know, maybe because Nintendo's really good at milking their well, at least the DS line. I mean, the DS is still going on,
And they got games coming out even beyond 2019, bro.
yeah.
I'm not making that up. I am not making that up.
I'm telling you, man. I told you guys since before the Switch even launched, they're not killing the freaking 3DS.
Nope.
That's just here to stay.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I still play.
Right,
I don't know.
guys.
I'm just gonna say 90. I guess I don't know.
By the time it ends, so you don't you don't think it's gonna outsell the Wii?
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to tell. Because I mean, the Switch is still fairly new, and it's like second on MPDs on PlayStation on a what 5-year-old console. So it's like it's not doing that great right now. It could be doing better.
Yeah. Who else wants to jump in with these prediction numbers? Brian?
I guess I'll stick for the 100 for PS4. I want to say 50 for Xbox. Just to say that to have like 2-to-1 ratio. Switch at this point in time, is it a point even guessing? Because it seems like no one predicted how well it did the first time round. So
yeah.
I did.
Brett,
did you get the number right?
Yeah, but Brett, can I? I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just gonna say you kind of just said that, and you got lucky. I'm just being real right now, dude.
I did not get lucky. I fucking told you exactly why this was gonna go, and I'm pretty sure I said 15 million.
Yeah, I think you did. We could always.
And you guys fucking laughed at me.
Yes, we did. But again, I still it still feels to me like you luckily stumbled onto.
Oh yeah, and I luckily stumbled on the announcement of Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3 and the Final Fantasy 7 remake year before last on E3. Y'all motherfuckers act like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Then Brett managed to predict it then, so maybe Brett answer might.
Yeah, Brett. You know what? I'm going to go with whatever Brett's going with since he's the Wii master here.
I think 35 million is a lot unless they have some secret weapon that I don't fucking know about. I thought I saw those numbers and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, like somebody's got a big pair on them. But if they did announce a Pokemon title this year, they wouldn't not a release of it, but if they announced a Pokemon title of this year, then you'd see a cascade of events that would basically happen where, oh shit, they're releasing Pokemon. I know Switches are hard to get, even though they're not hard to get anymore. But that's what's in people's minds. I better get my Switch so that I can have it for when Pokemon comes out. And that's going to drive a big, a large amount of hardware sales through the end of the year. Or maybe it's not Pokemon or something like that. I would have guessed probably just shy of 30 million.
Yeah, but Brett, let's get to the heart of the question. Lifetime sales. How many do you predict this thing's going to sell by the end of the generation?
I don't think it'll sell as well as the PS3. It'll hit a critical mass and
PS3?
stabilize. Or PS4. I don't think it'll do as well as the PS4. It'll hit a critical mass and stabilize. So I would guess under 100 million lifetime. I know that's pretty vague, so I'd 80, 90, something like that. Like it'll do well, but it won't do PS4 well.
Okay. The other part of the question is he wanted us to break it down by percentages. I kind of don't want to get into that. Seems, No, I don't want to get into that.
Why not?
Okay, Brian, you go ahead, Brian. You break it down by percentage. I don't fucking know. You go ahead, Brian. You do it then.
Fucked up.
Yeah, you fucked up. Now you got to answer the question.
Oh fuck! I was not prepared for this. I was
See, Brian?
Like,
see?
You see what happens?
Last second, kid.
Don't
bluff. All right. Breakdown of numbers. I would say that it may be one. No, okay. Let me get my percentages right. Yep. 1 in 15 or 1 in 20 would be like PS4 Pros, because I've heard that it's not doing all that. It's just doing all right. Xboxes maybe roughly the same, maybe 1 in 10, because I heard it's doing slightly better. So yeah, um, yeah. There's my answer. Made it on the spot. No thought at all.
Well, those aren't percentages though.
No,
Like imagine a pie. How
yeah,
much is Sony gonna get? How much is Microsoft gonna get?
yeah, like 1 in 15. I don't know what percentage that is because my math right now is not on point.
All right. And my math is never on point, so I don't even know how to decipher that. It's like
Probably
66%,
between
40%.
between 5 and 10%.
Oh, for the derivative consoles, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what's
By the
going
way,
on, J Dub?
1 in
Yeah.
15 is 6.6%.
I was close enough.
Heh. All right, let's move on, man. Where the fuck are we? Okay, G Mega Force 123. So this is interesting. It's a quote from someplace, and I'm going to read the quote. The headline is NVIDIA Tegra X1 based vulnerability affects every Nintendo Switch made to date. Here's the quote. Both re-switched and fail overflows say there's no way to fix this vulnerability in Switch consoles that have already been sold. The problem is said to be introduced early in the manufacturing process, so Nintendo could address the issue with the next batch of consoles, but this particular genie isn't going to be put back in its bottle. Anyone willing to root around with their Switch will be able to use this vulnerability to run homebrew games. So the question is, so would this hurt Nintendo, or would this cause more people to rush out and get the system because of these potential exploits? I can see it going either way. Interesting. So apparently you could exploit the Switch because of some Tegra bullshit going on.
You have to. It's on the board. That's why they have to do the redesign. So you have to bend a few pins on the board. If you bend these pins, then you're able to. It's like there's a bit of space that they have. So whenever you have to run like a behind the scenes patch and stuff, this is stuff that was in the manual. And apparently, if you bend these pins and then you're able to connect your through USB, you could able to see it up on the PC, and then you can load your own software from there. And then from there, if you spend time, then in theory you could start loading in, homebrews and other applications, and then of course, backups. So since there's nothing they can do software wise, it's forcing them to do the redesign. And it wasn't really seen as a flaw. It's in the manual. It's like a last resort if this is something that you need to do. So yeah. So they have no choice. So what I think, I mean, it's a small market right now that's paying attention to all this, because it's not like they're showing off. Oh wow, guess what? You can play all these bootlegs and it's simple. Go to Chinatown. Not like what happened with the Dreamcast. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, just get the disc and this that. No, it hasn't gone to that point yet. So I don't see people rushing up. But over time, if it does get to that point, anybody who has what we consider like the first gen of a Switch, all of us here, that's just going to be worth money if we ever decide to sell it. If let's say the new design is completely patched and it can't be done, and let's say this whole hacking community takes off and people are putting images on and all these cool things, sort of like what happened with the 360, how crazy with the OS and putting your own custom OS on it. If it gets to that point, then yeah, people will pay out the ass just to get one of those older versions, and we all have one.
Interesting.
So we'll see. We'll see if it gets to that point.
Yeah.
But so let me also add that the Wii also had the same thing happen too. And it also it was also I think it was because of one game that could do it. So they just re-released the game. I think it was Zelda that did it last time.
Well, but remember how much the PSP got a sales boost from being jailbroken. Like that a huge amount of the PSP sales came from the fact they're like, oh, you can root this thing, put emulators on it. I mean, and at the time, like people bought it just for that. They bought it just, they paid hundreds of dollars for, a small portable emulator. And I think that same thing could drive, like, just knowing that it's there. It's a weird thing too, because I know a lot of people that got a PSP and never actually ended up rooting it because they were a little hesitant to, so they just ended up having a PSP. And I think you might see some of the same things, but I don't think it'll actually affect hardware sales negatively. In fact, it might boost hardware sales. It might hurt software sales, though, in the long run.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens to it. You know, I mean, the way they fought it when it comes to the 3DS, because you can do that with 3DS and you don't need to do anything. Just get the chip itself, the card, and the card does it. It's just they ban you from the network, you know, because they can see, just like all of software has its own little code on it, like its own version number, and they can see when there's too many hits. That was what happened with the Pokemon. Pokemon got released online, and then everybody on 3DS started downloading it, and Nintendo saw them all logging in. I was like, wait a minute, they're all using the same serial number. How is this possible? So they just banned everybody. You know, and there's no go backs. That's it. You're that box, your 3DS is done. You know, when it comes to that. So we'll see.
Right. Anybody else want to jump in on that? I'll
I just pretty much agree with Brad here. Like, hardware sales might go up because again, we've seen it happen with the PSP, but software sales may be affected. And in terms of the online thing, I guess if like all the hot games are just offline only. 'Cause again, I don't unless Pokemon has like some essential online capabilities to it when it eventually comes out, then I don't think it will affect them that much. Because again, if like Pokemon is offline only, then well, just be hacked, and then that's the end of that. You know, like there's no threat involved if you play a game that can go online. So yeah, it's a really weird situation.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to use that as a segue to the next question. Can you have a great single player game without it having a storyline or a lore? It seems like a lot of games today compensate for not having multiplayer by having an emphasis on story and characters. It's not just Sony games. Games like Doom, Wolfenstein, Bioshock, and even RPGs like Skyrim and Zelda all feature some kind of story or lore. Are there any good single player only games that don't have a story? Yo, I've been thinking about this for hours. I couldn't come up with an answer.
Super Mario Brothers.
Super Mario Bros. Has a story.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have a story.
Okay, so the story I'm about to tell you right now is fake. Then that Mario gets
It's not
sent
in
to
the game. If you didn't have the fucking user manual to Super Mario Brothers, would you have known what the story?
But
to
the
Super
story
Mario
it does have a story. That's
Again,
the point.
it's not really a story. And
but it's a
people are not
story.
playing
It's still a
Super
story.
People are not playing Super Mario Brothers for the story.
But it's still a story nonetheless.
Hey Tony, could you break down the story for Super Mario Brothers 2 for me?
Super Mario Brothers 2. You're trapped in a mushroom kingdom. You gotta save Princess Peach. There you go.
But you're
That's
not
not
in
the
Mushroom
story
Kingdom.
of Super Mario 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody could look it up. The point is, the story exists, even if it's
No,
like
the point is that there isn't an actual story because it wasn't supposed to be a Mario game. It was reskinned as a Mario game at the last second because it has no plot, substance, or story.
I don't know about that.
No, it was another game.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure the game has a story of some sort. You know. So anyway, so what are they? What are some single player? I'm pretty sure Bomberman even has a fucking story, but that's multiplayer too, so that doesn't count.
Metroid doesn't really have a story either.
It does have a story though.
Okay, every game is going to have a setup, other than games like Tetris.
And that's the point. What single player games
No.
not
He's
have
saying in the context of the question, games rely on good storytelling.
No, he doesn't. He said they rely on story.
Okay, they rely on story and narrative.
Those games don't rely on story.
Because they're almost absent. They have a premise, but they don't have a story. There's a whole lot of difference between an elevator pitch and a written script. And that's the difference that we're talking about here.
I kind of see that as splitting hairs, to be honest. But Dip Dop Doopity gave us an answer. Unless somebody has a story for this Duck Hunt. There you go. Even though it's not
Katamari Damacy.
Is it Duck Hunt 2-player 2 if you have two guns?
No, it's I mean, yeah, it does. It not at the same time though.
Katamari Damacy has a story too, though.
But not like it has just.
It has to be completely devoid of story. No story plot whatsoever.
So what? Just like random shapes, like floating across, like
like Cabela's Big Game Hunter. Does it have a story?
Echochrome. I just answered my Echochrome. There you go. No story whatsoever.
Echochrome doesn't have a story.
Nope. Echochrome does not have a story. It's just you're literally just solving puzzles and that's it. There's no rhyme or reason for any of that. You know, and Lee Cavallo's putt, whatever the fuck that is. I guess there's not much of a story. They're just hunting. Oh, hold on. Sports games. Some do, but for the most part, they don't just play the fucking game. You know.
It's the career mode. You
Yeah,
know,
they-
the story of whatever you created your
Yeah.
guy, and can you get him into the Hall of
Yeah,
Fame?
but Adam,
That's
to
their
be fair
story.
though, and you would know this too, isn't
Mm.
like career mode a fairly recent thing with sports games?
No, it's the campaign mode.
Yeah,
Career mode's always been there. Its campaign is new, like the journey.
yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. The
Yeah,
journey
that
mode.
is
Yeah,
new. That is
And
new.
yeah.
Blades of Steel didn't have a career mode.
Blades is
It did,
okay.
the double dribble.
Punch Out
Bird
has a
versus
story, bro.
Jordan.
Punch Out has a story.
Punch Out does have a story, but like that's not really a sports game. That's like fantasy boxing.
Yeah.
Did you see on Jimmy Fallon when Tyson went against himself in Punch Out? They brought him
Yeah.
up on stage.
Ooh, here we go. Pac-Man and Space Invaders. Space Invaders has a story. It has a story. Pac-Man, I don't think, if it does, correct me if I'm wrong. Tetris doesn't, so I guess that counts too. You guys are fucking awesome in the chat. Mighty Nerd, bro. Monopoly and Uno, those aren't even video games.
Okay, so I gotta know from the people in the chat, like, are we splitting hairs? Because it feels like the definition of story here is needlessly narrow. Like, just because like in the context of the question, I'm hearing it as, does story support lack of multiplayer, and by that meaning like narrative or them telling you a story. In that most games, the setup was most games these days that don't have a multiplayer rely on story. So I don't necessarily think the story of Space Invaders, I don't think Space Invaders is relying on the story to help hold up the lack of multiplayer gaming. Like the question doesn't make sense in that context. Am I the only one in the room that thinks that?
No, I think you're in some ways overthinking it, but at the same time, I know where you're coming from because yeah, you don't play Space Invaders for a story, but
No,
I took the question as, or do single player games without a story exist? I broke it down to its essentials right there, you know. So and apparently, yeah, there are some that do exist that have absolutely no fucking story, you know. Like if even if you have a grain of a story, it's a story. You know,
but they don't. But the thing is, I feel like again, it's like these things don't depend on those games that have a pitch of whatever, something that you kind of have to read the user manual to find out. To be honest, those games are not depending on story.
Oh no, yeah, I agree with you. They don't depend on it, but they still exist. That's what I'm coming at it from. Understand? The story is still there, even if you don't even fucking have to know it. You know.
But the depend on it, I feel it. I'm with Manny. I feel the depend on it is an important part of the question, like because you're not talking about just do games exist that don't have a story that are still good. It's talking about using story in place of
good isn't part of the question though.
I didn't even say good. I said using story in place of multiplayer.
Yeah,
So
actually, no, Brett, you're right. Good is in there. He did say that. Are there any good single player games that don't have a story at all? You're right.
So I think maybe like story is a bit of a narrow word here, and this one I'm not trying to be needlessly verbose here, but like thematics or narrative would be a good substitute. Like, are there games that don't have a narrative that are still good? Like they just have the, you're a guy in armor and you're fighting ghosts, ghosts and ghouls. Like it's are there games that don't rely on story that are fun because they're an activity, that aren't trying to replace their lack of content because they don't have multiplayer with a strong narrative? Like God of War, like a lot of AAA games that we play these days, they don't have multiplayer. The activity, well, I can't even say like God of War because God of War is fun as fuck, but the activity itself is kind of monotonous, but you're there for the story. That is the reason that you're there. It is a narrative driven experience. And most video games, being derivative of other video games, if they're single player, they've come to rely on being narrative driven. So I think the spirit of the question is, are there good single player games that don't have multiplayer that are still good without being narrative driven? I think that's the question that's being asked here.
Okay, let's answer that one then.
Because that opens up a whole lot of more.
Yeah, and I still I'm at a loss for games even with that version of the question.
And well, with that, I would say any game that's an activity like Katamari or Smash Brothers or a fighting game or a sports game, any game where the play is essentially the thing pulling you in. Most Nintendo games focus. I mean, as much as we hate Nintendo, that's part of their core philosophy is the play, that the activity itself be fun, not just the end goal.
Does Flower have a story?
It has a grain of a story by Tony.
Grain of a story. Yeah, it
does.
does.
It has some sort of visual storytelling, but not to the point where like You are the flower, and you need to do this.
Yeah, well,
No.
it's kind of like you're a flower petal. You're trying to get back into like the wilderness or whatever, you know.
Well,
Something
no,
like
it's
that.
not
you're
even that.
reigniting nature. It's
Yeah.
it's got a theme, it's got a premise, but it has no narrative.
Yeah. By the way, just for the record, I see all of that as the same thing. Just throwing that out there. That's
Tell
why.
that you-
Yeah,
I
that's
think writers would disagree with you.
probably, but I don't care. I see it all as the same shit. You know.
Like what's that called? Fucking Gravity Wars. What's the name of that?
Gravity Rush?
Gravity Rush.
No, the
Oh, Geometry Wars.
Geometry Wars. Yeah, that doesn't.
There you go.
Doesn't have a story.
There you go. Let me name some of the, because these guys are naming a bunch of games here. And Mighty Nerd, yes, I do realize that Uno and Monopoly got turned into video games, but that's kind of besides the point.
They didn't start off there.
Yeah, they didn't start. Okay, Black Mirror.
Tony Hawk, Jet Set. Jet Set barely had a story.
Yeah, it still has.
It didn't have a narrative. It just had a move from point A to point B, skate and paint stuff.
I'm pretty sure there was villains in that in a vague story.
Not really. It's there was no narrative in that game. It was just
I'm pretty sure there was.
Loosely segued into other things.
Weren't you like rebelling against the government or something by spray painting shit?
There was very vaguely the man and people that you met who
and groups of gangs.
Well, they kind of had their territory squadded off. So like,
yeah. By the way, I went to
like,
Wiki. Here's the plot of the first game. If you want me to read it to you, so
it's not really a plot though. It's just there's different gangs that hold different areas, and they look different. Now move in there and spray paint. And there's also the man who comes to crack down on you because you're skating. Like it is the flimsiest. And don't get me wrong, I love it because of that. It's kind of like Kill la Kill. Like I love Kill la Kill. There's very little story in Kill la Kill. It is a flimsy premise to get you to eye-bleeding action.
Yeah,
that's
but
the entire.
I mean,
but there's still a premise in there, regardless.
Like games had that problem too. Look at Quake. Quake's story was in a text file you had to open. Like Quake just starts. Like you just have a gun in your hand and you're just in a room. You start shooting things.
Yeah, exactly. And the point of Quake is to be in a room with a gun shooting things. Like it's not relying on developing a narrative to lead you along. It's just like into shooting stuff in the face, fun, go nuts. That's what I think.
Here's a loose reason why you're shooting things.
Yeah,
exactly.
Most games have a loose reason for you to do whatever the fuck you're doing.
Well,
but
they have to.
Yeah, but I think
because otherwise, guys like you don't play them.
Well, yeah, again, because
otherwise you have Sea of Thieves. That's literally what it is.
Because it's like, what's the point of me playing this shit? Yeah, it's like what I've said this many times. I'm like, why the fuck am I playing this? But yeah, I think we kind of answered this to some way. Especially, thank you guys in the chat for all these Minesweeper. Yeah, there you go, Minesweeper, Brick Attack, Pinball. Snake. Yeah, there you go. They exist. Cool. All right, very interesting question. Thank you for asking that one. That was good. What the fuck are we right now? Okay,
in the zone.
Okay, Warlock 9 with a little bit of an antagonistic type of question.
Oh,
he goes, let me explain how real life works. The CEO of Pepsi isn't tweeting about how great Coke is. The CEO of Ford isn't tweeting about how much he is enjoying his Chevy. Mike Ibarra, in this case, can play whatever the hell he wants in his personal life, but he should absolutely not be tweeting about how great Sony games are, period. No one is saying that let me finish the question. No one is saying he needs to spit in Sony's eye. No one is saying he shouldn't play whatever he wants. Tweeting or streaming the competition's products is frowned upon in every single industry where competition matters. He had all that capitalized. So the question. So let me finish. So the question you should be asking is: does competition does Microsoft matter to? Does competition matter to Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo? I'm curious as to what your answers to that would be. All right, Brett, go ahead.
Let me tell you how the real world works. In the real world, grown-ups in creative-based industries tend to not only critique but compliment each other, not only on their work, but to congratulate them on their endeavors. This is because it is a close-knit industry of working adult professionals who realize they could see themselves on the other side of the fence one day very easily. This even goes up to CEOs that are traded like fucking baseball cards these days. So yes, while most of the time when you're selling a product, then like Coke or Pepsi, no, you're not going to congratulate Coke on the release of their new line. But when you're working in a creative industry, it is absolutely normal for people to congratulate other people on the launch of a successful line of comic books, or a director to compliment somebody else on a movie that they made.
For instance, I work for Marvel. I buy DC books, and I've taken pictures of the DC books that I've bought. Does that mean I should be? Does that mean I should be totally just towing the line? No, I work in a creative industry. Those people that work on the other in the other company are people that I've worked with before as well. I may end up over there at DC at some point. It's the same sort of thing that Brett is talking about here.
Also, even on a personal note, if you work in a creative industry and like my personal industry, tattooing, for instance, if somebody shows me a tattoo done by somebody else and it is a well done technical tattoo, it is proficient and good, and I don't recognize that, I'm only showing how inept I am at my ability to understand and judge the scope and scale of a good tattoo outside of whether or not it was done by me, which shows my shortcomings as a professional. Literally not being able to recognize a job well done only shows how short-sighted you are and how bad you are at your job. And only the people who are really insecure and not good at what they do are the ones that do that. The ones that complement each other are people usually who are at the top of their craft and very proficient and comfortable with their place and their ability.
Let me also add that Shuei Yoshida did also tweet the other games that he was playing. He tweeted a bunch of DS games and Wii U games, stuff that he's been playing with his kids. Now, those officially are the competition, right? Should he be towing the line? Maybe, if he wants to, but he wanted to show these things that he enjoyed, and I think that's what it is. I think that's what the situation is with the guy at Microsoft. There's just like, I think this thing is cool. Let's stream it out. And the thing is, that's not to say that these guys are not playing the competition. They're all playing each other's stuff. In fact, I'm sure they're sending each other those damn things too.
Yeah, quick things here from Solitary Zombie Kristen, who's also creative herself. People's contracts end all the time, and then they go work at other studios. It's very easy to get blacklisted for acting like an ass, which is true. And actually, I don't really have anything to add to this. Brett hit it on the head. Like, basically, Coca-Cola is not a creative industry. It's a fucking product, right? But the thing is, there are people that do think video games are a product, so that's why they have these kind of, I'm just going to say, the archaic mentalities. But no, this is a creative industry. Creative people, can recognize great creations. They will compliment each other. That's just how it is. That's how it is in movies, in fucking comics, video games, anything that's creative. Guys will give each other props. If you don't do it, you're just being petty asshole. So yeah.
Here's the thing that that sort of thing also means that the people on each side, it's like, okay, somebody puts out this amazing thing. That means that you have your work cut out for you on the other side. It means you need to put something out on that level to compete. So I definitely think, okay, sure, he's showing off this stuff in a stream, but at the same time, he's also learning from that stuff.
Can I also point out, I'm kind of a bit ashamed that this just occurred to me like this, but it's called sportsmanship. It's called acting like an adult. And whether or not at the end of the day you benefit from acting like a generous and intelligent human being shouldn't honestly be part of the question. Even if it hurts their fucking sales to recognize a well done job, it is in good conduct to recognize a well done job. And I think the question shouldn't be what can we get away with and how much is it going to benefit us, but the question should be how are we acting and how should we be acting and how does that apply to other people. And in this instance in particular, I think I'm going to draw the line at it doesn't fucking matter whether it hurts or helps the sales. It's being a genuine, good, decent person and recognizing good work when good work is done. And I think that should always be done, even if somebody's your competition. In sports, we call that good sportsmanship. In life, we call that being a good person. Full stop.
Yeah, all right. I think that pretty much sums it up there. So we'll move on to Black Metal Gamer. So his first question is, do you think backwards compatibility is really important nowadays, or moving forward with the youth? It seems that's a concern for mainly older gamers. Anyway, my question is it really that important for the future, or for the casual youth? A little bit convoluted question, but I think we got the point there. Yeah, I think backwards compatibility is Actually, it depends because think about it. Because what if you're 14 and shit? You buy a new PlayStation, you want to play your old PlayStation games on it too. So I don't think it's necessarily like for older or younger people. But like I've always said, backwards compatibility becomes less relevant as the generation goes on. But it's very important at the beginning of a generation. But I don't think it has anything to do with age. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't agree it's an age thing.
Well, I mean, GTA 5 is a top selling game on MPDs every fucking month. And that shit came out last gen.
Let me correct you, Carlos. GTA 5 is the best selling piece of media of all time.
Well, you didn't correct me, but I got the point.
Yes, but yeah, but that's the point though. That game's always doing well and shit. Yeah.
There are people that inevitably want to share their experience with their kids, and we're getting to the first generation of gamer adults who have kids. And you see this kind of thing recycled, like with Jurassic Park or re-releasing of movies. Every 25 to 30 years or so, they want to reboot and re-release something, and that's because it's about the amount of time that about 25 years ago you experienced this as a kid. You might have a kid about the same age as you about this time. It's just basic kind of generational math, and that's why you see this kind of thing going on. And the question is being brought up because you see more gamers as parents, and these gamers as parents definitely want to let their kids. I've known some gamer parents that actually have their kids play through the generations iteratively. Like they start them out with a Nintendo, and then they'll move them forward from there. And so I think that's what's important to these people. The question becomes less and less relevant because these systems they're becoming rarer and rarer. Yeah, you can get third party ones or off market ones, but the question I think people need to focus more on is the media itself. Like, how does my kid play this game that I used to love as a kid? And the industry has kind of already answered that, in that it's not going to give you backwards compatibility. It's just going to sell you a digital copy of that game that you already bought 3 times 20 years ago for another $20. But you'll shell it out because you want your kid to be able to experience the same thing that you did, or you want to be able to re-experience it yourself. And so we'll shell out that $20. And the way that the market works is, if there's a need and people are willing to pay for it, then it'll fill that gap with that. So yes, while we would all love backwards compatibility, the market has already stabilized on, we're just going to sell you a re-release or a reboot of this game. That's the way that it's turned into, and that's the way that it's going to continue to be. So you'll get a virtual console or a classic service or what the fuck ever you do that everybody's doing now, and that'll be it. The problem here is the question or issue posed by, I want to play my old games, has already been addressed by the market. And again, that's re-releasing the game. So I don't think that, I think backwards compatibility is dead because they found out that we'll buy it again.
Well, I mean, is it dead? Because they said the PS5 will be able to support PS4.
Yeah, backwards compatibility is not dead.
Yeah, and then the same thing with the new Xbox. They said from here on in, it's like you won't have to worry about that because the games that you play now will carry over.
Yeah, they might do that going forward. I don't know that they're going to reach back and like make an Xbox that's backwards compatible to all the original Xboxes, but they'll throw it into future proof, like
but we have that already.
They're already doing that now.
Yeah, they have that already.
Yeah, but I mean, PlayStation 3 did the same thing. The first generation of it was backwards compatible, and then they just dropped that shit.
Well, so they were trying to move everybody over. They noticed that because in the beginning they didn't have very many games that were any good, so most people were buying PS3s as like an upgrade to their PS2.
And I think that's what they'll continue to do. I don't think that they'll keep.
I don't think. I mean, the thing is that also it was a cost problem as well. They were literally putting a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2 inside of the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
I also think with digital games, it doesn't, like, this question is fading away. Like, have you ever heard somebody on Steam with this problem? No, because they just bought the game. They bought the digital game, and they can just generally just play it for whatever on whatever thing. So I think especially that might be the deal with digital games, because you don't have to really do anything at that point. You don't have to make new hardware or anything. So it'd be really easy to say like, oh yeah, all your digital games carry over, and not so much your physical games. And that'd be a great way to put an incentive to people to buy digital games, which they have more.
Well, at least for the way Microsoft's doing it, it's not just the digital, the physicals also work. So if you have the old, even the original OG Xbox game, if you have those and you pop that in your Xbox One, it's gonna play it.
And
it actually doesn't play it. It actually just downloads the downloaded version of the game.
Are you sure? Because my buddy, he's playing it from the disc.
Yeah. Well, the thing is
You
that
have to shove
the
the
disc
disc in.
the disc has to be inside.
And while I agree that I think this thing will happen from generation to generation, I don't think it'll happen in perpetuity. I don't think you're going to see, 5 generations from now, the Xbox, I don't know, -4 or whatever the fuck they decide to call it. I don't see that thing having the ability to play the discs of every generation before it. Not when they can sell it to you.
Yeah, right. Anybody else want to jump in on this?
I think it is important, but I don't think Brett has quite the right idea because again, like on this one, I'm kind of like against Brett's answer. Like, I don't like the fact that they are reselling us the same game. Like, I think that's just like them double dipping as fuck, and then they turn around and complain that, oh, used game sales are hurting us. It's like you motherfuckers are double dipping with us, and you're mad that we buy it used. Like, go fuck yourself.
I never said I
Um,
liked it.
Either way, I'm against that completely. So the whole idea of like getting rid of it, I think, is a bad idea. Hence why I'm actually for the PS5 being backwards compatible. Because if that is the case, and it's 100% of all PS4 games, then I'm more than happy to buy one day one. With no quarrels, unless there's something really done with it, like they do some DRM shit. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. The reason why it hasn't been happening as often, it it seems to be more of like a software thing in the sense of like the architecture was like different, but now they've gone for a more PC like architecture. Then it's well because one it's standardized. It means that if as long as everything keeps on this path, then everything should be great and should work forwards and backwards. That's my thinking. And in terms of being able to play older games, that is great. But I do have to agree with Brett that I think at some point down the line they'll just stop doing that. Um, Either because mediums will change, so like maybe like some holodisk bullshit or something, or maybe the architecture will just like go from like one measure to like another drastic measure, which is completely incompatible.
Yeah. All right. I want to end this off with something from Mighty Nerd. If backwards compatibility is so important to gamers, why has Xbox One not surpassed PS4? All right, man.
That's because there's no PlayStation backward compatible games on the Xbox. I'm kidding.
Oh.
I'm
By the way,
kidding.
by the way, Mighty Nerd says because it's not important, but Microsoft and I got to give props to Microsoft. They're making it important.
They are,
It's
yeah.
we're the only reason we're talking about this shit is because Xbox is doing this.
Yeah, it's like,
And they're
yeah. No, you're right, Carlos. It's the things that it's okay in the grand scheme of things. It's not important, but it's still important regardless. You know.
yeah.
It's important situationally. It's important when you're launching a console and you want to future proof and get people on board, like Brian said. It's important when you want to share something, but it's situational, which is why I
Yeah.
say I don't know that it'll work in perpetuity because there'll be times when like yes, like you definitely want the PlayStation 5 to be compatible with the PlayStation 4, backwards compatible with PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 6 to be backwards compatible with the PlayStation 5. But does the PlayStation 6 really need to be backwards compatible with the PlayStation 4? I mean, at that point,
Yeah.
probably 12 years, 15 years have passed. You don't know where half of these games are. Who knows if your console's even still running, and they'll just sell you a digital copy. So I think generation to generation, absolutely. And I think it's important. And I want to say I agree with Brian, and I hope that he's right. I'm not advocating this. What I am saying is they've found a place that they can dig money out of you. And the amount of people that will just say fuck it and throw $20 at the game are way more than the amount of people that are going to go back and dig out their 15-year-old system because their cousin they want to show their cousin a game.
Yeah.
It's just the way the market has stabilized. I hate it, but that's the way that it is, I think.
Yeah. All right, man. I want to move on. Next question here. What are some of your favorite mini games inside of video games? We're talking about stuff like Triple Triad, Gwent, shit like that. And which one of those have you played the most out of?
I can tell you my least favorite is the stupid hovering volleyball shit from that Final Fantasy game.
Blitzball.
Blitzball,
That's
yeah.
what it is.
Blitzball was bullshit, yeah.
Does Duck Hunt count?
Duck Hunt isn't a game though.
It was on the Mario Brothers cartridge.
Yeah, no, but it was
it's not
two
a mini
games.
game within
yeah,
Mario
it's not a
Brothers.
mini-
though.
yeah, come
No,
on,
yeah.
guys. It's two games in one basically. I don't know. I don't really like mini games within games too much. I mean, does some of the shit in Yakuza count as a mini game?
Well,
You
there are
know?
fully fledged games that are just emulated in there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love arcade cabinets.
Yeah, that's what I'm
like
saying. Do those count? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
they do. Yeah, they do.
Okay, if that's the
Even
case,
down to like the Wolfenstein Dream thing where it puts you back in the old game. That even though it's from the old game, like that counts.
okay, because I'm having a hard time, remembering anything old. I'm gonna say playing Puyo Puyo in Sonic Mania. There you go. I actually did generally like that.
Yo, Tony Dipped Out Dupity mentioned one that I'm pretty sure counts for you.
Which one is
The
that?
fishing simulator in Final Fantasy 15.
Oh shit! But there was a trophy associated with that. So I don't.
But
I don't
did
think
you
that
have
counts.
fun though?
I did have fun, but I was doing it for the trophy. I wasn't doing it just because I was having it. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't doing it for fun. I was doing it for the trophy. Once I got the trophy, I never fished again. So it doesn't
A
count
concept I don't understand.
because I need that fucking platinum. That's why.
You just admitted that you weren't having. You know what? Never.
I didn't say I wasn't having fun. I said I was having fun, but my main goal was to get that trophy.
Not enough fun to keep doing it to not stop doing it as soon as you got the trophy.
Yeah, because there's no point to it anymore. Understand? Just like when I platinum a game, I'm like, I never have to touch this game ever again. I completely destroyed it.
But you can use that same argument for any mini game in any game. It's like, oh, well, I stopped playing this game, so why do I need to play the mini game for?
Yeah. I don't think I understand that. By the way, anyway, what about you guys? Mini games and games that you really like?
I love all the arcade cabinets in Shenmue.
That's what I was gonna say. I used to
those were
play
fun.
Hang On in Shenmue. I used to spend all my allowance in the stupid arcade.
Oh god! And then you go drive a forklift so that you could play digital arcade games in a video game. That game was too meta.
I got nothing done in Shenmue for a while. I was like feeding the cat at night. I went back, picked up my allowance, headed to the arcade, and played Hang On.
Yeah, no, just the sheer amount of weird. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna say Shenmue because all of that is the forklift thing was a mini game that you did to earn money to go play with the cat or play an arcade cabinet or get the little side brawls, which were also all mini games. So you played mini games to gain access to other mini games so much that, just like Chris said, you didn't actually get anything done that you were supposed to be doing in the game because you were so focused on the mini games. So you somehow found yourself playing a game instead of doing the work that you were supposed to be doing in real life, and then in the game you're playing a game instead of the work that you're supposed to be doing in the game.
Yeah, Black Metal Gamer says GTA has great mini games like golf and pool. Yakuza has the best mini games. Yeah, some good answers here.
Dude, GTA's mini games are impossibly good. They're almost full-fledged games on their own. The problem is that there's just so much other shit to do that nobody plays golf in GTA.
Yeah. But you know what I miss? GTA 4 had bowling, and I used to play that a lot. The bowling was great.
Hey, Chris, it's me, your cousin.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Did you ever get those 10
bowling.
strikes, or what was that? Right? It was 10 strikes.
In a row, like
in
you bowl
GTA
a
4.
perfect game?
Oh hell yeah! That was another trophy. Your boy got that shit.
Yeah.
That
took a while. But
that took a while. And yeah, Black Metal Game. We are naming other games too. They don't have to be video games within the game too. Like Gwent isn't a video game within a game. Like there's no video games in Witcher. It's cards. Yeah. I never liked Triple Triad, by the way. Never liked that.
Or what was it? The one game in Red Dead Redemption, the card game.
What, the poker?
Well,
you mean poker? You mean poker?
I mean, poker was good. Liar's
No,
Dice
it was called Texas Hold'em. That's what it was in there, right?
That's poker.
That's poker.
Yeah, Texas Hold'em is just a different poker. They had Liar's Dice. They had the game where you put the knife between your fingers.
Yeah. 5-finger fillet.
5-finger fillet. Yeah. So those were the mini games there. I did like Liar's Dice though. That was cool. I used to play that in Red Dead.
Yeah. Again, I only played those to get the trophy. I don't think I like mini games in games. I'm noticing this about myself. But I did play Puyo Puyo for fun. Games. Yeah, I don't like. Yeah,
maybe you just played God of War to get the trophies, man. Who knows?
Not really. I enjoy God of War.
This is just a joke.
Yeah.
Tony's
Even
a
the
bit of a
even the
weird
mini
duck.
games in God
Brett,
of
I'm a
War.
weird guy. You're saying that, bro?
No, we are both equally weird on opposite sides of the fence. I'm not saying I'm any better.
Yeah, I was about to say, but the Mortal Kombat. Okay, one of the Mortal Kombat PS2 games had a kart racing. Interesting.
No, don't. I never played another Mortal Kombat after Mortal Kombat 3
Yeah,
Ultimate.
yeah. Tekken Tag had bowling.
Dude, even the new
Tekken
Far
Tag
Cry
had
is a little
bowling.
arcade game.
Yeah, plenty of games with mini games in them.
Tekken Tag. Oh, Tekken Tag had that one. Oh, you know which one I really liked? In Tekken, in I think Tekken 3 or Tekken Tag, they had a beat 'em up. You know that you pick up any of the characters and you just beat up everybody like Final Fight. Don't remember which one had it though.
Yeah. All right, I think that's all of them there. So we'll move on to the next question. Our boy Digital Tiger. All right, so his first question is: do you believe the success of PUBG and its model of releasing a $30 alpha played a part with Microsoft releasing Game Pass? Was Sea of Thieves, with its half-ass bodiless Kraken, released way too soon and used Game Pass as a crutch? Very good question. Very good question. Despite all the jabs you threw in there, yeah, was Sea of Thieves is it using Game Pass as a crutch for game sales? I think that's a valid question.
It's using Game Pass. It's trying to get Game Pass. I mean, it's the other way around. It's trying to they're using the game just to get people to sign up to Game Pass.
Yeah, that's also true. I don't know, Brett. You're the Sea of Thieves guy. What do you say?
I think that's a little backwards actually. I think I don't like what Game Pass did to Sea of Thieves because it's at least my personal conspiracy theory that I don't think Sea of Thieves was supposed to be a full $60 retail box game. It was probably more along the lines of Killer Instinct Rare's last game where it was just going to be downloadable. And I feel like they kind of put it out there as a box title to herd people into Game Pass because I don't think it's a $60 game. So I think that yes, they used it to herd people into Game Pass, but I don't think it was necessarily by tricking people. But I mean, y'all have your own feelings. I still enjoy the shit out of that game, and they're releasing new content, and they've updated their roadmap. They're being actually really receptive to people, or the community. So, if you don't like what they had on release, that's fine. I'm happy that they seem on track to be adding more stuff. And coincidentally, they're adding a lot of the stuff that the guys here on the panel said that they wanted, that I even said that I wasn't necessarily thrilled about, like AI ships and weekly events and all kinds of other different stuff. So, I don't know how to finish that off. What was the original question? I went too far off on a tangent.
Blades of Steel. Is it a good game or not?
Now, I think you answered it well enough. He just wanted to know if the game's using Game Pass as a crutch.
Yeah, no, I don't think Sea of Thieves is using Game Pass as a crutch. I think Game Pass kind of used Sea of Thieves to push Game Pass. That's my personal opinion. Is it getting a boost from Game Pass? Yeah, absolutely. Would as many people have bought it as a $60 game without Game Pass? No, I don't think so. Would it have been a $60 game if Game Pass weren't in the cards? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah. By the way, Dip Dop, we got your question, bro. We answer them in the order we get them, man. We're gonna answer. Don't worry about it. All right. Anybody else?
I'm actually curious. Well, I'm curious. What do you guys think? If Game Pass weren't a thing, do you think Sea of Thieves would have still been a $60 box retail game?
Probably, because Microsoft doesn't have anything else.
Yeah, and the development for this game took a while.
It's a rare game. It was going to be $60 regardless, man.
Fair enough.
Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say on this. Does anybody else want to, No, I guess not. No one cares. All right.
Well, I don't understand the nature of the question. Like, is the only and first big game to come out on Game Pass's new thing getting is Game Pass a crutch for it? Like, I really don't understand that question, because the other scenario is the game is so wildly successful that it wouldn't be put on Game Pass for a lesser price, and then it wouldn't help push Game Pass at all. In fact, then they'd be losing money on selling retail copies, because essentially, you know, like think if God of War were on Game Pass and we all could play it for $20 instead of paying it for $60, would we all not do that?
It's a good question.
But they said it sold very well, so I mean, people jumped on it. I want to see how many people signed up through Game Pass.
Yeah, that's what I want to know, because they just said 2 million. I want to know how many of those 2 million
And
are
they
from
said
Game
that was
Pass.
not including Game Pass.
Yeah. We'll see about that. All right. Moving on here. Aside from Titanfall 2 releasing between Battlefield 2 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, basically being sent to die, do you think it may have sold better if it wasn't called Titanfall 2? For example, if the recent God of War was called God of War 4, do you think it would sell as well? Note, some gamers may feel they need to play the previous versions before playing the recent God of War if it was called God of War 4. In a nutshell, do you think this marketing technique, sequel or reboot, played a factor in the sales for Titanfall 2 or the recent God of War? My answer is no. That shit doesn't matter. Gamers do not give a fuck for the most part about the number. Think about it like this. Did Fallout 3 stop selling because it was the third one? Did Elder Scrolls 5 like get hurt because it was the fifth one? Gamers generally don't care.
Was Portal 2 hurt? Was Portal 2 hurt by the fact it was Portal 2?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I don't think so.
Okay, you're gonna be shocked here. I'm gonna be a contrarian.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Okay, the Elder Scrolls and Fallout games are kind of the odd man out, because the first question anybody asks when they're like, "Oh, new Fallout game came out. Do you have to have played the old ones?" No, each game is standalone. Every game in the franchise of both of those, or every game in this franchise in both of those series is standalone. So
Brett.
you, of course, don't have to play it. What?
Brett, I got you with this one. And I got you good. I'm gonna say one game name, and it's gonna like break your whole thing. GTA 5.
GTAs are always standalone.
Yeah, but none of them always turn around and say like, oh, do I need to play GTA 1, 3, 4, like to play
No
GTA
one
5?
never asked. That's a
No.
good question. That's right.
You know, if you've lived under a rock and you've never played a
no
GTA,
one has
you
ever
might
no
ask that
one knows.
question.
Yeah,
I don't really actually hear people asking those questions with the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series, to be fair. But no, what? Here's where I was going with this. There's a certain kind of naming convention that you should probably stick with, and I'd like to say it's different, but I keep being shown that in group people are relatively simple creatures. Given anecdotal evidence for this. When I was ordering my last set of business cards, I was debating whether or not to pay $40 for a regular set or $80 for a Chrome set, to which I asked my boss which I should do. He said, spend the extra $40. I said, why? He said, because people like shiny things. And I was like, oh my God, that is the dumbest thing. But fine, I'll buy it because you told me to, so I got it. I have had so many people walk by at like conventions and stuff, stop and literally go, oh, shiny, and pick up my card. People's behaviors are fairly simple. And what you were saying with the new, like the God of War naming scheme, is by going from God of War 1, 2, and 3, those games all play into each other. When you reset the name and just call it God of War again, it implies to even the casual observer that there is somewhat of a reboot here. It's somewhat of a reset, that this is not necessarily contingent upon the story that came before. But generally speaking, with a fair amount of exceptions that are generally notable, it is, if you're going to go off of the last game, you can put a number on it. If this has nothing to do or is a standalone thing, you make a callback to the original title, but you don't necessarily make it the next in a sequential number. And so, yes, to the casual observer, Titanfall 2, if you're just looking at it, you're going to assume immediately, just in the amount of time it takes you to walk past the box, that this game picks up where the last Titanfall left off. Whereas if the game were called like Titanfall Reboot, you'd be like, oh, they're kind of relaunching it. I wonder if they did something different. It's that instinctual half-second decision that is on the very surface that actually plays up. Like, I'm one of those people. Like, I would not know that Titanfall 2 did not pick up or have anything to do with Titanfall 1 unless I had been told that. If I had just been walking by, I'd be like, oh, Titanfall 2, it's the sequel to Titanfall. No, it's another Titanfall game. Well, but then they probably should have called it Titanfall 2. So to a certain extent, I kind of got to agree with that.
Yeah, my thing is, here's the thing I've noticed with, at least with the gamers I talk to, it seems that they will buy a game if it has a larger number, because like, oh, this franchise is established, I'm going to buy this thing. Look at Final Fantasy VII, right? The 7th game, that was the biggest selling one. Even if the game the person played before that was Final Fantasy 3, even though it was 6 technically. But it seems like people are like, oh, that's a long running franchise, and maybe they wanted to get into it, and they're like, okay, now I'm going to jump in, because.
But you can do brain familiarity without having that big number. You can have I've heard of that.
Yeah,
but
like, there are
that's
plenty of
God of War right now.
Yeah, but there's plenty of franchises where you can have a big number and it's not going to hurt sales. It may actually help sales. But you're right. In a case of God of War, you need to just clean name because it's a complete new thing, But how many fucking Dynasty Warriors? There's Dynasty Warriors 9. Even though I heard that one was.
But that's not a good naming convention for those. They are confusing, and people get confused by it. And that's my point. Like, yeah, some people make these bad decisions, but people are relatively simple creatures that will make snap decisions and move on with their day. Not because they're stupid, but because they're not designating that amount of brain power to whatever stupid thing you're trying to fucking sell them.
All right, here's what I should add.
If
the game has enough hype behind it, and enough goodwill, the number won't matter. Because again, Final Fantasy VII was a blockbuster. People didn't go, oh shit, do I need to play all 6 of them?
But again, everybody knew about Final Fantasy, and everybody knows that Final Fantasy.
Not everybody
knew about it. Not everybody knew. Not everybody knew.
Hip Hop Gamer played Final Fantasy VII. That was the first one he'd ever played. He never played any of the other ones, I'm sure.
Well, what I mean is,
and that's the case for most people.
Was it not common knowledge that the Final Fantasies weren't sequels?
No,
like that's one of the first things that you find out when you write about after you find out about Final Fantasy.
No,
like, there's a bunch of them. Oh, do they tell a story?
To this day, people go, "Do I need to buy the other ones?"
I'm pretty sure if you Google, "Do I need to play?" and then like Final Fantasy,
so and so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
That only supports my argument. If you put a number behind something, people will think that it's a continuation.
Oh no, I agree with you. But people, that won't stop them from buying the game. That's my point.
That won't stop any people from buying a game. If the people, Metal Gear Solid 2 is probably the highest rated Metal Gear game. Now, did you need to play Metal Gear Solid 1 to play that? Well, yeah, you kind of did. But the thing is that people jumped in on that just because they heard that Metal Gear was a good game.
Yeah.
Oh no, you can absolutely do it. Just it means it's not. It's a little bit of an uphill battle.
To some maybe, but again, I've seen too many examples of games. Yeah.
Well, especially something like Titanfall, like where the first one didn't really do all that great, and you're trying to relaunch it.
Actually, Titanfall 1 did very well. Titanfall 2 didn't do as well as the first one.
Am I getting that backwards?
Yeah. But let's go back to Titanfall because we're getting off track anyway. Listen, what are we you're gonna call the new game Titanfall again? Doesn't make any sense. The real thing, the real reason that game got hurt is because of the launch. Because it was critically praised, and everybody that did play, and everybody that didn't play the game, myself included, thought it was a strong game. It's just it came out at a horrible time. Trust me. Let's back it up. If Titanfall 2, just the fact that Titanfall 1 got so much buzz, people would be looking forward to that sequel. But since it came out with all these other games, nobody bought it. That's what happened. In that case, the 2, specifically the number 2, helps games out a lot because they know.
In that case, I'm sorry, I got siderailed into can numbered sequels detract people from entering a franchise?
Yeah.
And in that case, like it's my opinion, yes, but no, you're absolutely right. There's way larger factors at play here that affected the sale of that game, and the fact that the first one was so well acclaimed means that you probably do want to put a 2 on it because you want everybody to know this is more of the same.
Exactly.
So it's strategic use. All I was saying is that there's a lot in a title that tells a consumer immediately whether or not this is picking up from the last one, or whether it's a continuation, or whether it's a reboot.
Yeah, I agree.
That does affect sales, but not as much as being released at a terrible fucking time.
Oh man. All right. Let's move on here. Joel Torres, man. So his first question is the new Kirby game considered AAA just because it's made by Nintendo? Interesting question. Yes, it is. So, yeah, it is.
Even if it wasn't, they didn't spend a lot of money making the game. It's still considered a AAA game.
Yeah,
because it's made by a AAA company.
Yeah, it kind of works like Lordship does.
Now you got to, you can't leave that one hanging, man.
Yeah, nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about.
It's how nobility works. Like, even if you're born retarded and a complete asshole, like, you're still the son of a lord, so you're still nobility, and you still are technically a lord, I guess, even if you're just a douchebag. So That's how it works. If you're made by a AAA developer, you're a AAA game. That's just how it is. Even if they just kind of farted you out in an afternoon, which is a weird way to think about it, but there you go.
Would you
Yeah.
say that about Kirby?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
Well,
don't think we.
it's
Yeah, I really
Kirby,
think. Yeah,
it's not a robust game, and
Yeah.
I'm the first one to recognize this as like, this game feels a little shallow and shovelware, but it's a AAA game by definition.
It's a lord. All right. I don't think we need to go further into that, man. Okay. Next question: is Nintendo Labo a failure? Chris, I'm going to you, man. Do you know how much this thing has sold?
Oh, me? No,
Isn't it already on sale on Target? I saw somewhere that it
Damn,
was on
son,
sale.
already.
They were posting it on
Hey,
Reddit.
listen, I'm gonna be
Oh.
honest, man. I have not been keeping up with this shit, so
yeah. I'm
Well, I
afraid
mean,
I
God of
haven't
War
kept up
was
either.
released
It
on the
just came
same
out.
day, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
Tony,
yo,
I have to say that thing.
say it. Say the thing.
I had mentioned something to Tony, and he said I had to bring this up as the perfect segue to piss people off. So I just wanted to point out to everybody right now that with last week's show that I was not here to see the sales numbers on, that Microsoft is currently being beaten by a company whose featured main product is a cardboard fake robot suit.
Oh, shit. Yeah, basically. Oh man. So yeah,
So just remember when
yeah.
we're talking shit on Labo that they're still selling more units than Microsoft right now.
Yeah,
Because we all live in a weird pocket dimension, parallel pocket dimension.
so yeah, sorry, Joel. We can't exactly answer the question. We did not do our due diligence and looked into this.
I don't think they've said anything
I don't
about it,
think
which
they
doesn't
have.
bode well.
Yeah.
They haven't said anything about it, and they have been on sale. So
Damn.
those two things combined don't necessarily make a good recipe. I don't. Will Nintendo come out and say this has been a complete failure? How will that surface,
No,
Chris?
they won't.
They won't.
How
They
do we-
won't say anything. We'll have to wait till the Q1 2018 numbers come out. The financial report, and then I'll dig in there and look what they say about Labo. But I don't think they're gonna admit anything. Like Nintendo is just like Microsoft in that respect. They're just not gonna. They're gonna. Reggie's gonna lie. That's all he does.
Oh shit.
And no, I'm serious. Like, come on, when's that guy said anything fucking honest in the last few years? And so if you compare, you'll have to compare it when the numbers actually come out to other games, and then I'm sure some zealots will come back at us and be like, "Well, what are you expecting?" I'm like, "Well, did it sell 1 million? Did it sell half? Like, what? I don't know what the bar is, but if it didn't hit close to that, when you're bragging about even like Mario Kart 8, which is a remake, selling like 8 million or 10 million, something ridiculous, like then Labo should have performed something, especially for the price."
and Nintendo's never really been super humble about announcing their successes. So going out on a limb here, but I would assume that if this were hugely successful, Nintendo would have said something about it by now, instead of letting it
Yeah.
quietly fade into the darkness as they seem to be trying to brush it under the rug.
Got some explaining to do. You know? All right, man. Let's move on here. Fuck are we? Okay. Dip dop doopity. Here you go, brother. We're gonna answer your question, man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna ask both versions of your question. Why the fuck not? Okay. If PlayStation were to completely reimagine PlayStation All Stars' fighting style, what would that style be? Would it be 3D? Would it be 2D art? Would it be 2D through to 3D art style like Dragon Ball Z or Injustice? Would be the game design? Would be the roster, art direction, etc. First of all, yeah, give it an actual real fighting game, fighting engine instead of that bullshit Smash Brothers thing. Just simple as that, you know. But I'll be honest with you, don't really give a fuck. I really don't need a PlayStation All Stars fighting game in my life. But if they were to redo it, just make it like a proper, fighting game, not that Smash Brothers party bullshit, you know. Although I would probably go with 3D graphics just because it'll probably fit more of the characters better. Like our Nathan Drake in a 2D like cartoon art style, I don't think that would work too well. So make it 3D just so most of the characters look on model, I guess. But yeah, I don't really care. I don't really need this shit in my life, you know. Don't care. What about you guys?
I agree. I don't care if they were to try it again. I'd probably want them to do it like Dragon Ball Z Fighters.
Yeah.
Like Street Fighter, like a real fighting game. Like that's
Yes.
the first thing. So 2D would be the way to go. Say Dragon Ball Z Fighters definitely hit on something great, like Guilty Gear and all that look like that. But to be honest, I don't need it either. Like I don't care about that shit.
Yeah.
You
Hard
guys
to
are
answer.
making the false assumption this is or ever was supposed to be a fighting game. It's a brawler. There's a difference.
Well, no, he's asking if we were to be a fighting game, what would you like it to be? Understand? Because you're right. It was never a fighting
so
game.
he's saying to take it out if we take it out of the brawler territory.
Yes, we have to because
okay.
it was never a fighting game to begin with.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, could I say like doing the style of Power Stone, which is another brawler type game?
Ooh,
Take it wherever
Hearthstone.
you want, man. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Because I think it should. I don't think a game like that should be brought into made into a real fighting game. Not because I have a problem with real fighting games, because I don't think it would make a good one. It'd make a decent brawler. So yeah, put it in a Power Stone kind of thing. Put it in a 3D environment. Let everybody have their special moves. Make it a party game because you're awkwardly jamming together universes. It's going to be a silly, weird, light game that can't take itself too seriously. Because if it does, you're not going to take it seriously. So I think it almost has to stay a brawler. And other than Smash Brothers, the only decent brawler kind of game I can think of off the top of my head is Power Stone. Not because there aren't good ones, because I can't think of one. Because I know somebody's going to correct me here in just a minute.
Right. Go ahead, Manny.
If I were to redo it as a fighting game,
just completely reimagine it. You could pretty much go wherever you want. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Can I reread this question, please?
Okay.
Oh, no, never mind. He said reimagine art style. I'm like, if we're going to go ham, we could reimagine this as an RPG, but he did specifically say fighting style.
A fighting game. You know what I would go with? I would actually go with a game like Tekken. Essentially just making it like what you and Chris said, like making it into a fighting game. But I would say I would like to go with a game more like Tekken, where you can have like nice, big, cool looking characters on the screen. It could be a one-on-one or a versus sort of game. But I think it should be something like that, or something where, how like essentially fighting games are like the pinnacle of like, really shiny looking, cool looking graphics.
Yeah.
So imagine if you took that, like those type of characters, and just did them with all the PlayStation characters, like, like that.
And I think also that would probably work better for this type of game because, again, a lot of PlayStation's big characters are already 3D, so making them cartoony wouldn't really work. But in Tekken style, they definitely would work.
Yeah, and you could actually use a lot of the high resolution assets from the games in that environment.
Take it a step further and go Soul Calibur so that they can all use trademark weapons.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Tekken, there are some characters that actually do have weapons
in Tekken, but no, but Tekken, it's the same. Basically, it's a 3D fighting game.
It's a 3D, essentially, one of those large character 3D fighter games.
Yes,
you could even say Virtua Fighter or Soul Calibur. Or any.
Well, on the scale, like Virtual Fighter is like the slowest and most plotting, and then you kind of get Tekken, and then towards the Soul Calibur end, you get a kind of more arcadey style play.
Technically, they're all arcade games. Just getting out there. But I think we're all coming to a consensus. Definitely a 3D fighting game of some sort.
Yeah, 3D fighting game, 2D fighting game like Dragon Ball Fighters. I feel like it might be an interesting thing to do, but I noticed that even with a game like Super Smash Brothers, all the characters look like where they're supposed to be from.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't redesign Solid Snake and Sonic the Hedgehog to fit the style of this game. They look pretty much exactly as you remember them.
Yeah.
Bayonetta doesn't look any different.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Because again, I'm finding it hard to care about this.
I think everybody agrees.
I wouldn't make it a Street Fighter type game because I don't think they'd be able to utilize their skill sets.
Yeah, what about a Tekken type of fighting game then?
Nah. I don't. Maybe the DB Fighter Z route, Blaze Blue or whatever, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, these characters need to use their skills, like their actual like whether they have a gun or they have powers or whatever. And
I feel like
and Soul Calibur.
Here's the thing. Ryu, freaking Akuma is in Tekken, and he works exactly as you remember him
Yeah,
working.
pretty much. Remember, you don't really need rhyme or reason for this. Just throw characters in there and see what happens. You know,
I feel like you just need something light and fast. That'd be my real requirements on it, because and my line of thought goes like this: like certain games play light and fast, right? Like they don't have that heavy gravity feeling. Other games play, with characters that feel like they have weight and movement to them.
No,
So
it would definitely it would definitely have to be something a little bit easy to get into and not difficult. And if you decide to go in deeper, then it becomes a lot more complicated.
I like what All Day said. He said make it like Puzzle Fighter. By
It's
the way, pour one out for that. The Capcom's killing that shit.
Oh.
Well, it was an ugly looking game.
Yeah, an ugly playing game, an ugly transaction-y game. Everything was ugly about it.
Yeah, that game was. They put that out. That was just a gimme because they knew that everybody knew that what the name, recognized the game name, but they didn't decide. They put out a lousy product.
Yeah. All right. We have one more question, but All Day, since I see you in there, I don't think you were here for the top of the show because you asked us some trivia / like like Riddler shit. We don't do that in this show, bro. So if you have time, ask us some real questions because we're not a fucking trivia show here. We're not throw down your riddles. You know what I'm saying?
Tell me this.
Tell me this, Batman. All right. So Fatal Mephisto, he goes, I have a fun question for you guys. What theme is better, Wii Shop music, 3DS eShop music, or Wii U eShop music? I count myself out of this. Aside from 3DS, I don't know any of these fucking songs. I never owned a Wii or a Wii U.
I didn't own a Wii U, so I don't know those songs. The Wii
the
Shop
songs.
sounded like elevator music. It sounds stupid.
They all kind of sounded
They all
like,
sound like elevator music. Yeah.
I've owned all three of them, and I don't even know what the hell they sound like.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point, because they're all terrible. They're all terrible,
They're all bad.
inoffensive, barely noticeable white noise kind of muzak. I know that I've heard them before, and I remember thinking like, wow, this is literally the beige of music.
Oh shit. Elevator music, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
but
telling
it's
you.
just so non-memorable that you're seeing the effects right here. It's like none of us can even remember what any of them sound like. They're like, they kind of went, I don't remember, boring.
The beige of music.
Like I said, I only have experience of one of them, and I don't even know what that one sounds like.
How many times you've heard it though?
The 3DS, I played 3DS a lot back in the day, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you heard it a million times, and you should know kind of what it sounds like, but you don't, because it's that amazingly unremarkable.
It literally sounds like the music to Mario Paint. All of them sound like lost tracks to Mario Paint.
That's hilarious, man.
That's actually the one thing I did enjoy about them. It's like, oh, hey, look, it sounds like Mario Paint. All right, totally forgot what these songs were.
All right, I don't think we have anything more to add to that one. All right, so we're going to wrap it up here, unless All Day wants to get in a question real quick. Oh, by the way, just a little segue, just to vamp a little bit. My Switch actually got some love this weekend.
Oh, what are you playing?
I didn't play nothing. I let my nephew play it.
Oh, what was he playing?
He was playing Mario Kart and trying to play, Super Mario Odyssey, but he couldn't figure it out, so he just jumped on the dog the entire time. I enjoyed that. Oh, well.
How old is he?
9.
Wait, you gave a 9-year-old a tablet to play with?
There's not a tablet, it's a Nintendo Switch, man.
I'm just making...
He didn't buy it for him either.
Yeah.
My kid plays her 3DS and she's cool with it. So.
Okay, here's a question from All Day. I was at Walmart the other day and Marvel vs. Capcom was $19.99. Damn. Do you guys think Capcom will try the franchise again? I already told you my theory. They're going to bring it back as Marvel vs. Capcom 4 and bring back the X-Men and all that other shit. Especially now that Disney and Fox are about to seal that deal. Don't ask me when that's going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. They're going to say the return of Marvel vs. Capcom, and that 4 is going to tell you that it's a sequel to 3, just like call back to what we were talking about before. The reason they call it Infinite is because of a brand new franchise, because they got rid of all the X-Men. So yeah, they're going to bring it back. It's just going to be Marvel vs. Capcom 4, and I guarantee right now the fighting game community will lose their fucking minds.
If I were Disney, I'd be taking the rights away from Capcom.
No shit.
Sorry. I'm sorry, but I would. You know that they deserve it.
Well, apparently, that was actually Marvel's decision to cut the X-Men out of the last game. It wasn't Capcom's fault, which is interesting.
Yeah, fucking surprise.
So yeah, Marvel's the Capcom 4. That's what you're gonna get.
Here's a question for you guys.
What up?
Where are God of War's sales numbers? Because I remember that last week we got a question as to how much they're going to sell,
Yes,
and it's been just over a week, but I haven't seen any of them.
that's a good question because you assume if they sold a lot, you would be hearing about it. So you think they're saving them for tomorrow, for Monday?
I just want to know who was right and who's not right. That's all I care about.
I don't know. I have no idea.
And here's another question. What if, and this is pure hypothetical, but I'm doing it for the fun of it. What if Labo sold more than God of War 4?
That would be hilarious.
Then the world is gonna end pretty soon.
I think I would commit seppuku.
I was about to say, I think I may jump out a window, bro. That would be horrible, actually. That would say, that the state of the industry is horrible if that's the case.
And everybody will be starting to make cardboard boxes.
Oh my god, yeah. And gaming is over if that happens.
It's like, hey, buy this new game.
Sony Labo.
They won't call it Sony Labo. They'll call it like something that's along the line.
Oh my, PlayStation box or something. I don't know, man.
PlayStation boxes. Hey, that wouldn't be the first time they ripped off a Nintendo.
Now you can play as Solid Snake.
No, they wouldn't do that. That would involve Konami. They would be like, "Hey, you can play as Nathan Drake."
All right, man. Some house clean before we end up here. So, we're gonna dust off the movie spoiler alert, people. It's happening, man.
Oh shit!
So tomorrow night we're gonna do an Infinity War spoiler. So any of you guys here in the panel, if you are available tomorrow at the same time, you're welcome to come on. And also, this is also a little bit to him deal because he did ask us some Civil War questions. I'm assuming he was talking about Infinity War, bro. Remember, this is Throw Down Your Questions. We don't do that stuff. But tomorrow we will answer some of your questions. You want to know where we rank the movie, what were some of our shocking moments. We're gonna talk about all of that tomorrow night. We're gonna see how it does, man. Because we did a God of War one.
It did pretty well.
I did fucking shitty compared to the old ones, man. Because because of YouTube's bullshit. So we'll see what happens, but some of you guys wanted this to happen, so it's gonna happen. There's some insider stuff which I can't say publicly now, but I'll tell you guys later, obviously. But yeah, it should be fun. I may have another. I had an original special guest on. He can't be on, but I may have somebody else on as well. So we'll see, man. It should be pretty interesting. So I hope you guys join us for that 10:30 p.m. Eastern here on Throwdown Show and shit. All right, man. So let's wrap this motherfucker up. So thank you for watching and listening. Leave us your questions in the comment section of this episode here on YouTube or on the Coalition, and we'll answer them on next week's show. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco. Tenacción by Emilio Lopez.
I'll see you later, guys. And don't forget, if you are interested, to watch my episode of Throwdown Plays. Which you can see what's on the screen right now. Is it flashing?
Oh, yeah. That shit's flashing like a motherfucker.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway.
To make it dramatic.
There we go. So there you go. That's the piece that I did. So if you want to see me paint that thing live, it's about 5 hours long. But if you want to watch it, you're more than welcome to.
Watch the magic happen.
Watch the magic happen.
All right. Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Adam Vale.
Have a good week, people.
And Brian Manjoma.
Life lesson: cry until you laugh, and laugh until you cry.
That's deep, man. It's deep.
What?
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. We'll see you tomorrow night, actually. Later.
Later, guys.
Peace.